From the 90.7 WMCO Geyer studio, you're tuned in to the Muskie Sports Blast, where we take a deep dive into the Muskie Pond to learn more about the impact the Muskie athletes have on and off the playing field. Always surprising, always fun. This is the Muskie Sports Blast on 90.7 The Orbit.
Hello and welcome to the Muskie Sports Blast here on the Orbit 90.7. I'm Gracie Collins, joined tonight by the Muskingum women's basketball team. Tonight I have freshman Halle Morehead and sophomore Baileigh Bishop. So we're only in week 2 of the spring semester. Halle, how are you feeling to be back at school now?
It's a really nice feeling. I mean, we were here for about a month by ourselves playing basketball, so I'm glad to have classes started back.
How about you, Baileigh? How are you feeling to be back?
I'm also glad to be back, especially with having a schedule and everything. It makes things go a lot easier, and having more people on campus to talk to is fun too. Yeah,
and Halle, you mentioned being here outside of school, and with break kind of falling right into the middle of your season, you get a few games and then the semester ends. I imagine that you wouldn't get the same type of winter break that other students do. So Halle, what does winter break look like for the women's basketball team?
Yeah, for sure. We were supposed to have 2 days, but obviously COVID got in the way of that. But it's pretty much eat, sleep, and go to basketball practice.
So did you ever really get to go home at all for any sort of break? Or
we went home for a week during Christmas, but then we were right back.
Right back to work?
Yeah.
So your team is sitting at a record of 7-7 after last night with the loss against Mount Union. Baileigh, what would you say is the overall team attitude with that record? Do you feel that that's the record you deserve, or are you all feeling like that should be a little bit better?
I think we're all pretty happy as of right now where we're standing with all the issues that we've had this year. But I think we could have won some other games, and especially last night, it was a game that we could have won, but we just couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at previous records in the past few years, I mean, that's an impressive record, especially when you're comparing it to, even just last season. And going back to last night's game against Mount Union, where the team fell with 48-66, I know the previous 2 games before this were canceled due to COVID protocols. So, Halle, do you feel like not having a game for, about a week or so played into the loss last night?
I think it definitely didn't help, but we know that things were thrown in the way of us, but we're just coming back to work, and we know it's going to be a process getting back into it, and I'm happy that we got to play yesterday, which will prepare us for Saturday.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Baileigh? What do you think happened last night to cause that loss against Mount Union?
I just think coming back after not having everyone at practice, because we weren't allowed to do a lot of contact things and up and down, so I think we were a little out of shape and just weren't used to going back and forth the whole time.
Yeah, I imagine that's hard, and as I said, due to COVID protocols, so just having people in and out, I can't imagine that that's very easy. And this one is for both of you. I always like to find the positives even in a loss, so what is something that you learned that you definitely need to work to improve on before your next game? This can be individually or for the team. I'll start with you, Halle.
I think our communication just on the defensive side really needs to improve. It definitely gets better as the game goes on and we go through spurts that it isn't very good, but I think communication really leads to the defensive letdowns, and we can't let that happen.
And what about you, Baileigh? What do you feel like you as an individual or as a team as a whole learned from last night's game that you plan to take that knowledge into your next game?
I think our rebounding needs to get a lot better still, especially on defense. We need to box out and then go grab the ball, but on offense too, we could try a lot harder on the glass.
Mm-hmm. So before I get into the next game that's coming up, I want to get a little bit deeper into your record this season. So as we just discussed, overall 7 wins and 7 losses, but I want to look at how you have a pretty impressive home record of 6-2, but then your away is at 1-5. Halle, do you feel like being home or away affects your team a lot, or do you feel like that could just possibly be a coincidence?
I think it's definitely our home court advantage really gives us an advantage. We shoot well at home. We've struggled shooting away at away games, and that has a lot to do with it, I think. And for most games, we've had a good crowd, and that definitely helps.
Now, just you as an individual, Halle, do you feel like it messes with your head at all having to play away?
I think, I try to go into every game with the same mentality that I'm going to work hard, but it definitely, I don't know, just shooting at a different place, it's different. The bus ride, there's a lot of things to take into consideration, but, I always try to go in the game with the same mindset every day.
And what about you, Baileigh? Do you feel that having these away games affects your mental game at all?
Not really. I just think, the long bus rides, like Halle said, and having such a long day and then going to play a game is kind of hard on everyone.
Well, I hope to see those wins increase as you still have quite a few games left. And up next, you face the 12th-ranked John Carroll on Saturday. First off, Halle, does hearing that a team is ranked affect you at all before going in to play them?
I think this affects us as a whole team. I think whenever we view a team as a threat, we really go in throwing punches. When John Carroll was here first, we gave him a good fight, and I hope to do the same thing at their place. And we need to start acting like everybody's a threat.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Baileigh? Do you ever feel like hearing the word ranked gets in your head at all?
I think us as a whole, again, kind of gets to us because we know we're ranked. But then again, it pushes us because we know what we can do against them since it was such a close game last time. But since we're playing away, we might just have to work a little harder since we don't have all the fans and everything with us.
And now, Halle, you touched a little bit on the last time that you played them in December, and that was a pretty close game. I saw the stats. They were pretty impressive. I don't have them pulled up right now, but, like you said, you guys definitely put up a fight. Do you feel like there's anything you learned from that game that you feel like is going to help benefit you moving into this next time that you play them?
I feel like we went into that game in December with a really strong game plan. Obviously they have 2 All-Americans, and that's a threat. I think going in with the same mentality that they are a threat and we know what we need to do, we can be really successful against them.
And what about you, Baileigh? Do you feel like, I know that the team was just starting out. I believe that was the first conference game of the year. So do you feel like there's anything that your team has improved in since the last time that your team saw John Carroll?
I think when we saw him, our defense was really good. We limited a lot of the post touches, which really helped us a lot. So I think if we just do that again, we should be fine.
All right, and with that, we are going to take a quick break before we get into some more basketball questions. I'm joined tonight by Baileigh Bishop and Halle Morehead. My name is Gracie Collins, and you're listening to the Orbit 90.7. Thanks for tuning back into the Muskie Sports Blast here on the Orbit 90.7. I'm Gracie Collins, joined tonight by the Muskingum women's basketball team. Tonight, I have freshman Halle Morehead and sophomore Baileigh Bishop. So we got to talk a lot about the upcoming games and previous games, and now I would just like to get to know you as players just a little bit better. So as 2 younger girls on the team, is there a certain player that you feel has sort of taken you under their wing as sort of a mentor? I'll start with you, Halle.
I think our seniors, Sarah and Tanner, really hold a big role on the team, and we obviously turn to them. They have way more experience than any of us, and I think we work well as a whole. I think they do a really good job of taking us freshmen under their wing and teaching us and just being a positive role model to us.
So has your team done any thinking yet? You said that they were 2 seniors. How do you think that you'll be able to grow beyond once they graduate? Do you think that you'll be able to have people ready to step up as leaders after them?
I think it's going to be definitely a stepping stone, and I think it'll be interesting who takes on that role. But I think how far we've grown this year and know coaches' expectations, I think hopefully it will be a smooth transition.
And what about you, Baileigh? Do you feel like there was a certain player that took you under their wing and helps you out a lot?
I think Sarah's always helped me from the start. I came in like playing as a guard, being on the outside a lot, but then they wanted me to be a post, so I kind of had to like learn from her. And she's always helping me out on different plays and everything, or if I have questions, I always come to her first.
Mm-hmm. And now, Baileigh, I'll start with you. How were you recruited to Muskingum?
I was recruited by a coach. She just saw me at like an AAU tournament, and then she just came to my games and everything. And I really like the campus and the professors, so that's what really drew me here.
A lot of people always talk about how they really like Muskingum's campus. And what do you feel like about the campus that really drew you in?
Kind of just like the atmosphere of like the people. Everyone was like very welcoming and saying hi and everything, and just it was just very warm welcome.
Yeah, it's the small town feeling. And what about you, Halle? How did you find Muskingum and know that this is the place that you wanted to go?
So Coach reached out to me first, and I didn't know that I wanted to play basketball. Wasn't really looking at Muskingum, and then I found that I was interested in Muskingum, and I reached out to Coach, and then, like Baileigh said, Coach started watching my games, keeping in touch with me, and here I am.
And I know you said that you didn't even really plan on taking it to the next level. How would you say that college basketball differs from high school?
I think just definitely the pace of the game. I mean, ultimately, everybody's here because you're good at playing basketball, so the competition is way higher and the expectations are way higher.
What about you, Baileigh? Do you feel like there is a significant difference between the high school and college basketball?
I agree with Halle. The game's so much faster than high school, and especially for me, we ran like a lot of set plays where this like motion's basically what we run half the time, so that's a big part of it too.
And now, Halle, do you have any sort of pregame routine before a game day?
I mean, I always show up at the gym 2 hours before, go down to the training room, and then go up and shoot, and we start warming up as a team at 60 minutes before the game. So,
what about you, Baileigh? Any sort of pregame to get you hyped up before a game?
I'll usually make sure I got like a snack or something before, and then I'll just go to the locker room and hang out for a little bit, and then go up and shoot probably like an hour before to get moving.
And now, do you have like a specific pregame snack or meal that you typically like to have before a game?
Just something small like gummies or a granola bar, and then maybe some water or Gatorade.
What about you, Halle?
I usually eat some pretzels before, and usually Gatorade.
And then this one's for both of you. I'll start with you, Halle. Which player do you feel brings the most energy on the team?
I think at times it's Tanner, but also Casey. She's goofy, she likes to have fun, so she always keeps us on our toes and laughing.
And what about you, Baileigh? Who would you say brings in the most energy on the team?
I'd say either Kenzie or Tanner. They're both kind of similar. They're always talking and crazy all the time and always just have jokes or something to say.
And with that, we are going to take one more quick break before we get into the fun questions. I am joined tonight by sophomore Baileigh Bishop and freshman Halle Morehead. I'm Gracie Collins, and you're listening to The Orbit 90.7 FM. But anyways, that really wraps up for tonight on the Muskie Sports Blast. Thank you so much to Halle Morehead and Baileigh Bishop for joining tonight. The Muskingum women's basketball team plays next on Saturday at John Carroll, and they will be back here on Thursday night for another Muskie Sports Blast. My name is Gracie Collins, and you're listening to The Orbit 90.7 FM.
Thank you for listening to the Muskie Sports Blast on 90.7 WMCO. Make sure you tune in to the Muskie Sports Blast at 8 p.m. every weeknight except Wednesdays to see what's happening in Muskie sports. Also, check out orbitmediaonline.com for a full list of broadcasts scheduled. This is WMCO, your home for Fighting Muskie Sports.